Hey folks, this is Seth Mayo again, Curator of Astronomy for the Loman Planetarium, and we're here again for a weekly update of our sky tonight, and hopefully everyone has been enjoying these tours of what we can see in the skies above us. There's always something interesting to find. Hopefully you've seen that as we've been exploring the sky week to week and night to night. So let's do it for this week from May 11th through May 17th. And we're going to set the sun as we usually do as we look towards the western horizon. Right over here, we'll slide ourselves over to this side of the sky. And let's speed up time here. Stellarium is such a great tool, and I still try to get as many people to download this because it really makes things so much easier to learn the sky, learn the stars and constellations, and it's just kind of fun to play around with. It's almost like a learning video game in a way. So we're setting our sun this week. It's happening kind of in the 8:05, 8:06 time frame. And we're going to say it again. Venus is still there in the west, right? So that's something I've been repeating over and over again, but it is true. You still have a chance to see the planet Venus shining in the west. So you're still pretty high in the sky, which is quite nice. Embedded among some leftover wintertime stars. And so you'll see them kind of come into view as we get farther into the night here. So let's continue on and get it so it's dark out for this week. And here we have it. So we said goodbye to Orion. We're saying goodbye to the brightest star in the sky, Sirius, right here, the dog star as we call it. Procyon, his other dog, up here is a little higher in the sky. That's what these two stars represent. And actually I'll put up the pictures of those two dogs. So they're getting pretty low in the sky, but you do have a chance to see them, especially Procyon, the smaller of the two dogs, the one that takes a lot more imagination, as you see there. And if you look above that, we have Leo the lion here. There's Leo's head, body, and tail, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, and there he is. And we'll continue kind of moving ourselves over, so we kind of slide past the zenith, which is straight up in the sky, and over to the east, where we'll find more spring stars, along with the Big Dipper in the northeast. So if you notice, there's the Big Dipper right here. Here's the very famous, what we call asterism. It's not actually a constellation, a shape that's a little easier to spot, made of fairly bright stars. Usually asterisms are a little easier to figure out. Sometimes the constellations can be very challenging to understand and to visualize. And even for me, doing this for a long time, some constellations leave me scratching my head and just wondering how they were imagined in that way. But the asterisms are a little more recent, and they usually consist of stars from multiple constellations, or they can, not always. So with the Big Dipper that you have here, the Big Dipper is actually part of something called Ursa Major, which is this great bear in the sky. It's always a fun one to kind of figure out, but the Big Dipper is famous. So there's the bowl and the handle, and this time of year, pretty far into the spring, is a great time of year to see this Big Dipper in the sky. And you can see the handle, the arc of the handle sort of points you over to this star here. This is Arcturus, that I love mentioning at this time of year. And then if you sort of spike from there, shoot from Arcturus to the star Spica, that's why people say spike to Spica, you get this star, which is actually part of the constellation Virgo the Maiden, another one of those zodiac signs. Of course, I didn't mention that Virgo and Leo are both zodiac constellations, since the sun does slide through those constellations through the sky. Of course, we know that the Earth is going around the sun, and it looks like the sun moves through these constellations at a certain time of the year. So that's where the zodiac signs come from. So you can see that in this area of the sky at this time of the year. And again, there's Spica, the brightest star in Virgo. It means ear of wheat, and pretty noticeable in the sky. So one of the brightest, along with Arcturus, which is even brighter. Arcturus is a very, very bright star that people are probably noticing pretty high in the eastern part of the sky at this time of the year. So there's a lot of great things to see with Venus and all of these lovely spring stars and constellations that we've been talking about lately. But I really want to focus on some interesting things going on in the morning that I want to talk about. And so I'm going to kind of focus a lot on that aspect of the sky. If you're getting up early in the morning, there's a lot of great things to see. So we're going to move ourselves to the east here, speed up time, and we'll get the Earth to rotate a bit more, go into the 12th, which is Tuesday morning, and you'll start seeing Vega rise. That's a really bright star for the summertime, part of the summer triangle. And hey, look at there, you can see our moon. And this is where things get real fun and interesting here. So we're going to go pretty early in the morning, but not too early, maybe a time that people can be up and it's not a crazy time, right? So we'll go maybe to closer to 6 o'clock in the morning, a little more chance that, that people could be awake at this time. So no guarantees, of course, right? But anyway, so you'll look here, what we find kind of in the southeast to south here is our moon will be hanging out in this area of the sky for this week. And so starting on Tuesday morning, after we put this episode out, we'll have the moon, which is a little more than half full. So this is technically called a waning gibbous. Will be right underneath this planet here. Actually, these are planets which we have mentioned in previous episodes. They're going to look like bright stars that don't twinkle. So they stand out in that way. Planets are really interesting looking in the sky. You can kind of tell that there's something different than the stars around them, right? If you look right above, I can actually click on it and it will tell me in the program that this is Jupiter, the biggest planet in the solar system. So the moon and Jupiter will kind of share the scene here. And then you have Saturn not far away. And then more towards kind of the east-southeast, this reddish looking planet is Mars. So we've been kind of watching these planets sort of dance around each other. Saturn and Jupiter are kind of stuck together, at least right now, and they've been sort of sliding away from Mars lately. So we'll see Saturn and Jupiter in the evening sky first this summer, and then Mars later on will join the planetary party, if you will. So that's nice. And if we watch the moon for these next mornings through this week, you'll find that the moon will kind of dance around the planets as well. So the following morning after that, so you get to Wednesday morning, the moon will get closer to half full. Then it's half full. On Thursday morning, that's called first quarter. And then by Thursday to Friday, it will get real close to Mars. And then now it's in the crescent phase, right? The waning crescent. So you'll see it get a little bit smaller until the weekend, the end of the weekend on Sunday, a nice thin crescent shape. So that's kind of nice to see the moon sort of dance around these planets in the early morning sky. Now, one last thing I want to mention, and it's something that's kind of making the news a little bit, and that is another opportunity for a comet. And so comets are really great objects that sometimes can appear in the sky. Not always, but occasionally we can have comets that come out from the outer solar system and into the inner solar system. And these are icy objects, icy rocky objects that are really dark, but only light up when they get close to the sun. And they can sometimes form a tail and look kind of like a star with hair. That's actually where the name comet comes from. Comet, like coma, means hair. So it's like almost like a hairy star. It sounds kind of funny, but that's sort of where the idea came from with the name of comets, interestingly enough, right? So we had a comet possibility earlier, just last month, a comet called Atlas. It's named after a telescope in Hawaii that discovered it. And unfortunately, Atlas, which was more in the northern part of the sky, it broke up. And so it dimmed since it broke apart. And comets are notoriously unpredictable. You can't really tell what they're going to do. But to save the day, a new comet kind of appeared and recently discovered. It's called Comet Swan. And it's a fun name, but it's actually named after an instrument on board a solar observatory. So a spacecraft that studies the sun called SOHO. And so that instrument was not meant to look for comets, but actually an amateur astronomer was looking through images from Swan and noticed this comet, and that's how it was discovered. So comets can be discovered in really interesting ways, or they're all found in so many different ways, and it's kind of fun to learn how we locate these very dim but eventually bright things as they near the sun. So again, Comet Swan, and I can actually show it to you in this planetarium software. So if we look closely, very low in the east in the morning, you may notice this little thing right here. I think I can click on it. There you go. If you look up here, it says C2 2020 F8. That just tells you the time, the year, and the kind of the order the comet was discovered. C means comet, and then there's the more kind of traditional naming of it. So that's Swan, named after the instrument that was used to discover it. So Comet Swan is nearing the sun this month. And actually on Tuesday morning, it is closest to Earth. And it's very low in the east. So it's a really tough thing because you got to look just before the sun rises. If we speed up time, the sun will rise. And there's that little comet, little wispy thing there that you may be able to see this week, even with your naked eyes. Maybe binoculars or something you can take out, look maybe on the beach, and or just some clear area towards the east, and you might have a chance to see this, especially this week as it gets pretty close to Earth, still about 52 million miles away. And then it's going to get closer and closer to the sun after that, and that actually allows the comet to get brighter and brighter and even more visible to the naked eye by then. So on the 12th, again, it's closest approach to Earth, but then as we move through the week, it's going to move a little more to the northeast, a little bit more. The moon will actually start to kind of get closer to it, the crescent moon, but luckily not too big, so the moon's light doesn't interfere with the visibility of the comet. There it is right there. And I can actually zoom maybe a little more into it. You may see a little tail animation in stellarium. It's kind of fun. So we'll see how bright it gets. We don't know. This comet could break up as it passes Earth and gets closer to the sun. Again, these things are very unpredictable. The comets outgas and they glow and they can kind of break apart or spin in crazy ways. So we don't know what will happen. We can just sort of plan for things and wait to see what occurs with Comet Swan. So this is by the end of the weekend, and as we get closer to the end of May, it's going to get nearer to the sun, so really low in our sky towards the northeast, but get brighter. And by May 27th, we'll get closest to the sun, what's called the perihelion approach, at about 40 million miles from the sun, and then swoop around and start getting dimmer again if it survives. But again, it could break apart from the energy from the sun, so we will see. So a lot going on in the morning. We focus quite a bit on it in this episode here with all these planets, the moon, flying by the planets, and a possibility of a comet, again, Comet Swan in the east. So if you're a beach goer in the morning taking walks on the beach, maybe you have a chance to see some of these things in the sky. It's a great party going on, you could say that. So anyway, I'll end it with this, and good luck with all this stargazing, planet gazing, moon gazing, even comet gazing that is going on right now. So thanks for tuning in. Take care, and hope to see you back for another episode of Our Sky Tonight. Thanks.